Hey everyone, the walls continue to close in on free speech proponents or activists in this country. The latest victim this time is none other than Lindsay Shepherd. You know that girl, that university student who had members of the faculty in her particular, Laurier University, and these administrators who used their positions to bully and intimidate this poor young girl. Yeah, I'm sure you've seen and heard the kind of venom, the kind of rhetoric, the kind of intimidation used towards this young girl to try to shut down and silence and suppress her voice. Fortunately, she was wise enough to record that whole situation.
But the reality is that it has created a toxic climate for some of the students.
How many?
It's great that...
Ooh, like how many?
Okay.
One?
May I speak?
I have no concept of like how many people complained, like what their complaint was. You haven't showed me the complaint.
Yes, I understand that this is upsetting, but there's also confidentiality matters.
The number of people is confidential?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is one or multiple students who've come forward saying that this is something that they were concerned about and that it made them uncomfortable. You're perfectly welcome to your own opinions, but when you're bringing it into the context of the classroom, that can become problematic. And that can become something that creates an unsafe learning environment for students.
But when they leave the university, they're going to be exposed to these ideas. So I don't see how I'm doing a disservice to the class by exposing them to ideas that are really out there. And I'm sorry I'm crying. I'm stressed out because this to me is so wrong. It's so wrong.
Can I mention the gendered violence, gendered and sexual violence policy?
Yeah, please.
So under that, gendered violence doesn't just include sexual violence, but it also includes targeting folks based on gender. So that includes transphobia, biphobia, homophobia. All those sorts of things are protected under the policy, and so those are things that Laurier has upheld as values as well as the Ontario Human Rights Code. And so those are things that we're responsible for not impacting our students in that way, and not spreading transphobia in that way.
Okay, so what I have a problem with is I didn't target anybody. Who did I target?
Trans folks.
How? By telling them ideas that are really out there? By telling them that? By telling them? Really?
It's not just telling them in legitimizing this as a valid perspective, as this is another valid perspective.
In a university, all perspectives are valid.
That's not necessarily true, Lindsay.
Well, this is something that's being debated in current society, and I don't feel the need to shield people from what's going on in society. Like,
okay.
To imagine that this is happening in university, it's just bad.
Okay, so
bad.
Just to give you a context, also within all of this that is happening, Laurier's being blanketed with white supremacist posters currently. There's another debate in society, which is whether or not North America should be a set of white nationalist states and that it should be ethnically cleansed of other people. That is also a current debate in society. Would you show something in your tutorial that you had, white supremacists and non-white supremacists debating whether or not other people should live in North America? Is that something that you would show?
If that was related to the content of the week and we were talking about right-wing speech bubbles, maybe.
Okay.
It depends on the content. Like, I mean, if there's really ideas that are existing out there like that, then, I mean, look, the thing is, like, I don't see what's transphobic about showing a video of Jordan Peterson. He's a real person. He's out there.
He is a real person, but he is a real person who has engaged in targeted behavior that, or targeting of trans students in a particular, like basically doxing them, if you know the term, like giving out their personal information so that they will be attacked, harassed, so that death threats will find them. This is something that he has done to his own students. He has done to other students. And this is also something that the students are aware of. So this is This is basically like playing, not to kind of do the thing where everything is kind of compared to Hitler, but this is like neutrally playing a speech by Hitler or Milo Yiannopoulos from Gamergate.
And subsequent to that, all of Canada got to see just how authoritarian and ideologically driven these people are. And keep in mind, folks, these are the people that are educating and informing the minds of your children. Headline of the Post-Millennial: Twitter permanently silences Canadian free speech activist Lindsay Shepherd. This being reported by Barrett Wilson. I believe it's July 15th, 2019. Update: a source has confirmed that the Twitter ban is permanent. So think about what that even represents. She's not just been temporarily suspended or had a timeout per se. No, she's been permanently banned from the platform for daring to speak out or defend herself against this trans activist that she was having a dispute with. I mean, think about it. I mean, that's the social, that's the online world. But in the physical realm, that would be akin to having your mouth permanently wired shut so that you can never speak again. Do you really believe that someone such as Lindsay Shepherd deserves that kind of treatment? Or that kind of punishment? I sure as heck don't. One of Canada's most outspoken free speech advocates, Lindsay Shepherd, has been permanently suspended from Twitter. The suspension comes after a jousting match with a notorious trans woman named JY, who has been accused of predatory behavior towards children and making frivolous human rights complaints. The Post-Millennial reached out to Shepherd, who said, "I got suspended for 2 tweets, although they didn't tell me exactly which tweets were the problem, so I'm giving my best guess. Last night, JY tweeted that I have a loose vagina from pushing a 10-pound baby out, but he still has a tight pussy." In reality, JY still has male genitalia, according to the proceedings of the current human rights tribunals he's been testifying in. And in reality, I had a C-section and a 6-pound, 10-ounce baby. And as you can see, there's a caption of the actual tweets. That's the beautiful thing about online information. It's out there forever, stored, and can be brought up at any time as evidence to push back against the authoritarian counterparts who are trying to shut down and silence people on a regular basis. Thank goodness that the internet never forgets. I replied that this is something a man who has no functional romantic relationships with a woman would say, but that, I guess, that describes him pretty well. Then Yanav mocked a reproductive abnormality I have, a septate uterus, and so I replied saying, "At least I have a uterus, you fat ugly man." I thought, I can't allow him to make these misogynistic remarks about me and not fight back. I deleted the comments I made this morning, but found out was suspended in the afternoon. I mean, think of it. The worst thing they can say is that she called him a fat, ugly man, right? So I guess is it the fact that she misgendered or made a minute insult as far as his weight, right? I mean, come on. Really, this is what we're dealing with today, folks. Think about how sensitive and how authoritarian. Like, that's the thing. People that are extremely sensitive and yet have an authoritarian streak, these are people that are extremely dangerous to us all. Think about what this person, what these people in these social media platforms would do if they had genuine, real political clout and power. Right now, at the very least, you still have the option to go elsewhere. Although, once again, Lindsay should have never been permanently banned on this platform, because if they're going to be consistent anyway as far as the rules of engagement, then, hey, if you're going to punish or permanently ban Lindsay, well, then you should have done the exact same thing for the person that was on the other side of that dispute or that argument, because they were both hurling insults at each other. But as we can see, this is completely politically biased and ideologically driven in nature. Shepherd, who is also a columnist for the Post-Millennial, told us that she is concerned about her inability to respond to mistruths now that she is banned from the platform. Well, I am most concerned about the lies that can now be spread that I cannot counteract via Twitter. For instance, I saw an account tweeted that I have sock puppet accounts. No, I do not have any accounts other than @NewWorldHominin, but I can't correct that misinformation anymore. Now that's what happens. They silence her. And what does that do for her opponents? It gives them the ability to say whatever they got to say, and she has no ability. Like I said, her mouth has been tied. Her mouth has been snapped shut. She's been silenced and suppressed and denied her ability to even push back or challenge the rhetoric or the lies that's being espoused by her opponent. Who among us thinks it's fair for anyone to have their hands tied behind their back while they're trying to battle an opponent? That's unfair no matter how you look at it or which side of the political aisle you reside. Anyways, folks, now it goes on to how Shepherd came first to the public's attention, which was, like I say, that disgusting and vile intimidation effort from her authorities in that education system, who too tried to bully this woman into silence. This is one single lone female girl in Canada, challenging not just bureaucratic institutions, but those who represent the ruling class, the ruling establishment, and the media mouthpieces who are seemingly willing to go along with the narrative that she's what? Some Nazi, white supremacist, vile and evil woman that just what? I don't know. What's the rhetoric they're espousing today? What's the new hit piece that they're using? What's the new rhetoric that they're using towards Lindsay these days? I'm sure they'll create or conjure up something to use to lay cover for the kind of authoritarianism that they're using to try to silence and suppress her. Fortunately, I believe more and more Canadians are starting to see this reality as it unfolds and getting on board with supporting proponents of freedom of speech and rejecting this kind of authoritarian political correctness, which seeks to not only divide us, but to silence and suppress us to assure that that happens. It's Canadian Libertarian, and I love liberty.